So here we are in vacation week and it's cold. So what do I do when it's cold? I bake. So going through my grandmother's recipes again, and I discovered that she had over 200 and some odd recipes in her cookie container. And in that cookie container I found brownie recipes and bar recipes and some cake and a pie recipe. So I went to go put those in her pie and cake recipe boxes and discovered more cookie recipes, and so I have no idea how many actual cookie recipes that woman has. But when I was looking through, I found one for butter cookies, and I immediately thought of the fruit-filled, sort of like a sugar cookie kind of cookie. And then I also thought of when I was a kid, every Christmas we would find these blue tins that my grandparents always had that were Danish butter cookies or something, and they were a little crispy and different styles and shapes. Well, that's not these cookies. These cookies are going to be ones that we're going to roll out, and then I'm going to put a little bit of jam in them and then have sort of a filled butter cookie. But they all still have the same level of ingredients. It's just a different way of baking them and serving them. So a butter cookie recipe is very simple, or it has 6 ingredients: butter, flour, egg, vanilla, and salt. Sugar. Always have to have sugar. So, 6 ingredients. So I have, look at this recipe. This is her recipe, and she had it taped together. God only knows how old that is, because it's 2 pages, or 2 cards thick. So, isn't that cool? Alright, so old-fashioned butter cookies. So I have a whole cup of butter that I've already beat and started to turn into a lovely little whipped blended mess. And now we are going to add the sugar. And because these are rolled out cookies and you're going to make a sandwich with them, there's a lot more dough to them than if we were just going to make a simple one batch. We have to fill these, so we have to have a layer cookie and then another layer cookie on top. So there's going to be 2 cups of simply granulated sugar. And I always have a half cup in my sugar, always. So I need 4 in order to make 2 full cups. That's 3, and that's 4. So I'm going to blend the sugar in with the butter until it is nice, light, and fluffy. So the butter and sugar are well blended, and you want to make sure you have them well blended because you want that sugar to be fully incorporated into that butter. And now we're simply going to have about a teaspoon of vanilla, and as you can tell, I have a very good measure, and eggs. So we need 3 eggs, and you need to beat them really well. So we want to have them well beaten together, sort of like if you were going to make scrambled eggs and you beat them before you did that. And they were room temperature so that they blended and mixed well together. And we're simply going to mix those in with our butter and sugar mixture and our vanilla. That might take a while because there are 3 eggs. So we blended that well together. Look at that. Look at that nice creamy golden color. That's what happens when you have nice fresh farm eggs. Get a nice dark yellow color. Okay, so we've mixed our butter, our sugar, our eggs, and our vanilla. And so what we have left is our flour. Now, there's some tips to flour. If your recipe says the measurement, like 1 cup, and it says sifted flour, it means you have to sift it, then measure it. If it says you need 1 cup of flour sifted, then you measure, then sift. So this recipe says you need 4 cups of sifted flour. So I needed to sift flour, then I'll measure it. So here's my lovely sifter. I don't know how long I've had this, but it has a grate. Oh, I still have some flour in here. Has a grate on the bottom. And you put it in, and basically what it does is it gets rid of any lumps, and it kind of makes this flour nice and fine. So I have sifted a bunch of flour, and now I'm going to measure the 4 cups that I need. And I'm going to use a scoop. And when you measure flour, you do not want to pack it into your cup. You want to scoop it in and have it be nice, light, and airy, like this. So that's 1 cup. Because you can always add flour if you need to. You can't take flour away if you put too much in there. 2. 3. And it looks like I just might have to sift some more flour, but we will see. Oh, maybe not. I'm going to make a mess on my counter, though. Perfect. Right about 4 cups. I'm not really sure how much I actually sifted, but I got the right amount. And then we're only going to use a little bit of salt, about ½ a teaspoon. And I'm a good measurer, so I put it right into my palm of my hand because I know exactly how much is measured. ½ a teaspoon. Take a fork, mix that salt and flour together, and then we're going to add it to our butter mixture. And it is going to get thick, and that's what we want. We want a thick dough so we can roll it out like a sugar cookie would. And so I'm going to add my flour, and then I'll be back and we will see what we do next. So I have our 4 cups of flour added, and according to Graham's recipe, we want a stiff dough. And this is not really a stiff dough. It's quite malleable. So her directions said, go ahead and add more flour because you want a stiff dough. So because it needs to be sifted flour, I have to sift some more flour. And then I will slowly add it, because if you add too much, then you'll end up with it too stiff. So I'm going to add that and see how stiff we can get, because what we're going to do is we're going to wrap it up, we're going to refrigerate it so it can get nice and cold, because that makes it easier to roll out. So I had to add more flour, but now my dough is sticking right to this. So that's a good, fairly stiff dough. So we're going to put it into a bowl. I'm going to wrap it with saran wrap or plastic wrap, and then I'm going to refrigerate it so it gets nice and cold. We want that butter to start getting cold again because it has completely been softened and incorporated with all the other ingredients. So we're going to let it harden up. It'll make it a lot easier for us to roll out and cut into shapes. And then we will come back and I'll show you. We'll roll it out. We'll put some filling into it. We'll put the cookie on top, and then we will bake them. So we're going to let it chill for probably about an hour. So to you it'll be just seconds, and to me it'll be a whole hour. So my dough has been chilling, and now we have it to roll out. We want to roll it to about an eighth of an inch thick, because we're going to make filled. We're going to fill them. If I wasn't going to fill them, then I would roll them out to be about 1/4 of an inch thick. Now I'm using my favorite rolling pin. It's a French style rolling pin. It's thick in the middle and then tapered, and that's where your hands go. And I like it a lot better than any of the old rolling pins with handles. Those just get on my nerves. So I need to kind of judge it. I could use a little measuring thing, but after a while you just kind of know. And you want to make sure your edges aren't thicker, because if you go and cut right to the edge, you'll have a problem. So I could cut with this nice scalloped flower shape, or I could use just a simple round shape. So because we're going to fill, you need double. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you basically take your rounds and put them on your cookie sheet. I'm going to use fig jam because I have it, but any thick jam. We could even make a filling. Graham's recipe has a filling that you could make, but since I have the jam, why make something else? So you put in about half a teaspoon of the whatever you're going to use as a filling, and then you cover it with another cookie round, and then you kind of press in order to seal it. Now if I had a smaller cookie, like a smaller circle, I could have cut out just the very center, and then that jam would have kind of shown through, but I probably have one, I just don't know where it is at the moment. And then just because it makes it look good, you could sprinkle a little sugar on top, because God knows there wasn't enough sugar in the cookie dough to begin with. And then we're going to bake them. Now because I am really rich and fancy, I already have some that I made with the flour one already prepared. So I'm just going to sprinkle some sugar. If I didn't have my parchment paper, I would want to grease my cookie sheet. And you want to re-grease every time you add a new pan of cookies, a new rack. And we're going to bake them at 400 we're going to start at 8 minutes and could go as high as 10. So we're going to put these in the oven. I'm going to continue cutting and filling, and we'll be back to show you what they look like once they're all baked. So here they are, done. They said to cook them till they were kind of brown. These might be a little too brown on the edges, but the bottoms are still nice lightly brown. So probably the edges are more because it was scalloped, so they're a little thinner than the rest of it. And so we will let those cool, because if you try to eat them warm, the jam that's in the middle is going to burn your mouth. So we're going to let these cool, and then I'm going to bake some that I'm not going to fill. And by the time those are done, one of these will be cool enough so I can taste it and try to see how my grandmother's old-fashioned butter cookies taste. So I just baked some just as cookies without filling them. Same beautiful brown bottom, slightly less crispy edges as the other ones, but probably because they're pinched, they're further away than from the, and these I'm thinking are going to be more like the butter cookies that I remember as a kid. But we will see. And our other cookies have cooled plenty for me to now try one. But I also was playing around with the filled cookies. And so here's one that I cut a hole out of the middle. And here's one that I kind of cut a Y out of them to see just how different it'll be when it bakes up. But let's try one of these filled ones. Nice crisp edge. Center is nice and soft. I think maybe some more of the jam than what I put in would be nice. Because not quite getting, oh, maybe it's more in the middle. Yeah. I think I would put more jam in the middle. But, other than that, see, nice and fluffy, a little crumbly. Good stuff. So, Graham, that recipe is a success. Sometime I'll have to make it and actually make the filling that you have the recipe for, but I didn't have any raisins. So, hope you enjoyed. Have a great day. So sometimes when you make a cookie that has a variety of different ways to be made, it makes sense to try them a different way, or some of the varying ways that it can be made. So with our butter cookies today, we made them filled with some filling, and I baked them according to the recipe, and they were a little bit overbaked, a little bit too crispy, and when we ate them, hard and not enough filling in them. Okay. We learned something. Then we baked some without filling them, and the intention originally was I was going to fill these, so I rolled them out thinner. Then I forgot, so I baked them without that. And though they're still good, they're a little crispy, not quite as I don't know, not enough cookie to it. It's almost like a sand dollar type cookie, which isn't bad. But so then we made them again, and this time I put a lot more filling in them. Did not bake them nearly as long. And according to John, these were the best. He liked them a lot with plenty of extra filling. And last but not least, I cut them thicker and baked them completely without filling or anything. And these also, softer in the middle, much better. So 4 different ways, one completely by accident, and a couple of them because. So when there's different ways, take the time to do it. You made the batch. Might as well try them all the different ways they can be made. Happy baking.